It's finally here. The Volkswagen ID.Buzz has arrived and it looks every bit as cool in person as it does in any of the pictures you've seen. The front is, well, it's so instantly recognizable. You've got these slender lights here. You've got this light bar runs across the front, big Volkswagen badge as well. It's a real nod to the original microbus. Then you've got all these driver assistance systems carefully integrated in the car. You've got front facing cameras, more cameras down here, radar in here, and this mesh bumper here helps channel air in through here, out across the front of the wheel. This upright windscreen helps give you a really good field of visibility. You've got split A-pillars here as well, reduces the amount of blind spots you're going to get. And when you see this side on, it really does look very impressive. It's made on the same MEB platform as the ID3, ID4, ID5. That means it's got a 77 kilowatt hour battery. That's good for a range of up to 423 kilometers in this particular version. And you've got a rear wheel drive setup. This has a 204 horsepower motor with 310 newton meters of torque. So it's no slouch in that respect. There will be in time a all-wheel drive version that will have a little bit more power again and will have an increased towing capacity of up to 1800 kilograms. Being a van or being derived from a van means you've got big sliding doors here. These are electrically adjustable, means you've got a lot of room, really easy to get kids in and out in a car park, for example. And then around the back, well, you've got some really nice details here along the side. You've got big charging port in here. This will be able to charge at really fast rates. You'll be able to go from 5 to 80% in as little as 30 minutes at the right sort of rapid charger. Then, much like the other ID models, you've got lights that wrap all the way across the back, and you've got another big Volkswagen logo here, the ID.Buzz. Nobody is going to be mistaken for what you're driving. Everyone is going to know exactly what it is. The passenger versions will get this lift up tailgate. On this model, it's electrically operated. And once that's up, you have 1100 litres of boot space. You've got storage compartments in here if you want your charging cables. You can take out this floor again and have even more space. There's also going to be a longer version which will have up to 7 seats. At the moment, these only come as a 5-seat model, but there's a lot of room. Just over 1100 litres of boot space here. When you fold down the rear seats, that almost doubles to just over 2200 litres. Loads of room in here. Inside, there's a lot of room in the Volkswagen ID.Buzz. It's going to be quite familiar to anybody that's already been in any of the ID cars. It has the 3-spoke steering wheel here with haptic controls. They do take a little bit of getting used to. I find them a little bit fiddly, a little bit too sensitive for my liking. I'd much rather have proper physical buttons, but this is what Volkswagen has in this particular model. The instrument cluster, the digital display, is mounted onto the steering column, so everything is fixed onto this. That means when you adjust your steering wheel, everything moves with it, and there's a good range of adjustment with the steering wheel too, which is quite good. So people of all sizes will be able to find a comfortable driving position. The seats are also electrically adjustable in this version. Again, there's a lot of movement there as well, so people are going to find it very easy to get comfortable in this car. There's a lot of free space in here as well, particularly between the front seats here. There's no big center console. You have a lot of empty room. It's one of the big pluses of having a fully electric platform. There are 2 different touchscreen displays available with this car. Again, it uses the latest Volkswagen software. It's continually being updated too, so even by the time these start to arrive, there will be more updates coming. You have haptic controls here, touch sensitive bar here for your volume and your temperature on either side. One of the gripes with this on other ID models is that these aren't illuminated at night. It does make it a little bit trickier to use, although those people who live with this car will probably find it a little bit more familiar over time. There's shortcut buttons on the front here, and you've got other controls for heated seats. all the infotainment system has built-in nav. It has all your smartphone mirroring as well, so you can have your Android Auto, your Apple CarPlay all come up here. There's also a wireless charging pad here as well, so you can pop your phone in there out of the way. You're not going to see it. It will come up and appear on the screen here as well, so you have all your apps that you will need. There's more space on the center here with cup holders that pop out, so it's nice to have those out of the way when you don't need them. There's more storage areas here on top, and you still have a decent sized glove box as well. Between the seats there's more storage here on top. You can adjust this how you like, and there's another further pop out compartment there on the front. The seats also have pop down armrests, which is great, makes it a little bit more comfortable on a longer journey too. The driving position itself gives you a great view out the front here as well. That high windscreen and these split A-pillars means that you really have very little in the way of blind spots, and the fact that you sit up that bit higher gives you a really good field of visibility over all of the other traffic. The Buzz will be a great hit with families as well, because there's loads of room back here. Not only do you have sliding doors, which makes it much easier getting kids in and out, but there's a lot of room in here. Both of the two outer seats have ISOFIX points, so it's very easy to get child seats in and out. And this center seat is much wider than you would typically see in a normal SUV. That does give it a little bit more scope as well. Much better if somebody is going to be sitting here. They're not going to feel quite as hard done by. There's a lot of room in here. The seats themselves can slide forward and back, so there is actually, you can move it a good bit forward. Depends on what you need. If you need more boot space, you can move the seats forward, or you can move them right the way back. They also recline as well. So if you're on a longer journey, you want to kick back and relax, you can do that as well. There's even plenty of room to get your feet in underneath the seat in front. So you've got a good bit of space here if you do want to stretch out. For reference, I'm about 5'9". I've got a lot of headroom here, loads of headroom in fact, and I can just about touch this seat in front, which is more or less set up from my driving position. There's a handy armrest here, which is for me at a really good size, and I like the fact that the windows aren't all that small either, so even little ones should be able to still see out quite easily, and that's a great way of averting any potential travel sickness. The seats themselves, even the backs of the seats, well, you've got some storage here if you want to pop your device in there. You've got a pop-up table as well. That's really handy. It's at a good height as well. And there's pockets in the backs of the seats. There isn't any ventilation or any charge points here you might see, but there are USB-C charge ports in the doors themselves, so you can still keep your devices topped up. And if you've got the electrically operated doors, you have a button right here to open and close them. I cannot remember a car in recent memory that has created so much interest from people, so much positive feedback from people. It's been really quite eye-opening and kind of refreshing to see, and it shows how much the design of this car matters to people, how much attention it creates, how it catches people's eyes. And obviously a big part of that is the fact that it's in this quite striking two-tone paint, but it's really kind of nice, and it's absolutely not something you're going to get driving an SUV, put it that way. You'll also notice that driving position. You sit up nice and high, and the view out is really good. You can see pretty much everything. What's maybe a little bit surprising initially is that you sit further back from the windscreen than you might expect, a lot further back in fact, but it just takes a little bit of time to get used to, because the front is so upright and so blunt that it's not really an issue. You can creep right up to into a tight parking space, for example, and you've got really good cameras front and rear to help get you into that space. As for the electric motor, well, it's pretty perky. Even though it's the same amount of power as an ID.4 or ID.5, it's 204 horsepower. And even though this is a heavier car, it doesn't really feel it. Gets up to speed quite quickly. The power delivery is, as you would expect from an electric car, oh so smooth. So it's really nice as you just cruise away from a stop. The steering is actually pretty agile. This car does not really feel as big as it looks. Now, the size, yes, you do have to take into account how much space you take up on the road, but it's quite agile. You may have seen Volkswagen quote an 11.1 meter turning circle for the ID.Buzz, which is pretty much on par with a Volkswagen Golf. However, that figure applies to the left-hand drive model I'm driving right now. Right-hand drive models, because of some technical changes under the skin, means it doesn't get quite the same turning circle. It will be around about 12 meters, so it's not bad, but it won't be quite as good as the left-hand drive models, which is maybe something you might want to consider. The performance of that 77 kilowatt hour battery is pretty good actually. Volkswagen says it'll do 423 kilometers in WLTP. So far today, over a mixture of different driving scenarios, it has returned 21.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and that's over a variety of different situations such as motorways, urban driving, city driving, and a bit of country driving. So we've really covered off a lot of different bases today, and that figure just actually is consistently be coming down. So at the moment it's done 21.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Not bad for an electric car of this size. One other aspect that the ID.Buzz is surprisingly good at is ride quality. Now, we are on some pretty nice and well paved roads here, but it's given us a chance to experience that multi-link rear end through some of the faster bends on roads, and it does stay very planted, very stable. But also I've noticed there's not a lot of road noise. Even though this is on some fairly large wheels, it's not as pronounced on this car as I've experienced on an ID.4 and an ID.5, for example. So that's a positive for the ID.Buzz. And that's really going to be a key to the success of this car, because it drives like a car. It doesn't feel like a van with some extra passenger seats in the back, and that's one of the big differences with this model. Volkswagen has done a very good job in that respect. This seems so far on this initial first impression to be much more than a van with some seats on a big battery. This is a car that, simply put, just oozes charm. It's full of character. People seem to love how it looks, and everywhere it goes it brings a smile to people's faces, in much the same way as the original microbus did back in the day. Volkswagen has absolutely nailed it with this car. So that's our first drive review of the Volkswagen ID.Buzz. If you want to find out more, head over to the AA website.